Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. So I just got to watching Stephen A. Smith's a clip of his apology on First Take about uh, Shotani, I believe is his name. I haven't gotten his name correct at all, Otani. So I apologize early for anyone who may be offended by me mistaking his name, but I'm certainly coming with a whole lot of respect and a lot of appreciation for the greatness that he's displaying as an athlete first. And everything else falls into place after that. But I look at the athlete first, and I don't try to go to people's skin color, their race, religion, all that stuff is not for my attention. The athlete is most important. But I'm not here to talk about him. I'm here to talk about the apology that I witnessed from Stephen A. Smith. First of all, I don't think he was wrong for making the apology. I think he was right. I think you have to make right a wrong, and he apologized previously, and I responded to that. And my thing today is to hop on here and just say, as an African American person, as a black person, I can appreciate the display of stepping up to the plate and swallowing your pride and admitting when you're wrong. Whether it be a situation where it was his independent idea or it was something that he was told to do, either way, it's the right thing to do. So I can applaud that. What really troubles me to turn on the camera is this. And I'll personalize it for those who will probably receive it better because I do. As a black dude, African American person who speaks about sports and different topics and try to use my very best vocabulary to do so. A lot of what it is that I do is inspired by Stephen A. I've always been good with words. Sometimes I use them when I shouldn't. Didn't really do that great in school, but I've always been able to excel in reading, something I've been able to do since before I even got to school. So for me, learning language wasn't as much about reading books and doing the repetition in school, but more so about listening to people who speak certain words and then taking those words and incorporating them back into my vocabulary. There are very few African Americans that I've been exposed to myself who have a more extensive vocabulary in the fields of things that I'm interested in, like sports, than Stephen A. Smith. So there's been very few individuals who have inspired me more to do this in the way that I do it. Very few. So when I hear Stephen A. put an emphasis on apologizing, I pay attention. When he makes a mistake, and the way that he speaks and how he brings forth his energy in that way, I'm listening. So when I don't hear him give any apology to individuals that he offended who look like us. I want to say something else about Stephen A. Smith. This isn't relevant, but I'm going to say it anyway. Stephen A. Smith looks just like my grandfather. He looked like he could be his son. He favors my family quite a bit on my mom's side. Would not be surprised at all to find out that I'm somehow distantly related to that man, because he looks that much like my granddad. So incorporate that however you will. But I'm telling you that I'm highly offended at the fact that he, not just this particular time, but every time I've heard him eloquate an apology to individuals that he's offended, and it's happened more than once, because he tends to have, over the years said some things that rubbed some people the wrong way, and he's had to come back around and display that integrity in apology, and in apologizing, for which I respect. But when he does this, he's never doing it towards African American people who he offends. And maybe it doesn't hit his radar. Let's I'm gonna play stupid for a second and say it doesn't get his radar. Maybe he never hears that African American people are offended. That's hard to buy, man. That's a hard one to believe. You want me to believe that all of these people who are African American for all of these years have been sounding off about what it is that offends them, that comes out of his mouth, and it don't hit his radar. He never hears it. It never comes across as something that he should address. That's the part that I have a real difficult time absorbing. Now look, I'm not an idiot. We know ESPN is a very, very, very strict company. We've heard the stories about how it goes down on campus. Those people hardly ever leave. It's like a damn cult. That's what I've been told. That's what has been said about ESPN by a lot of people who've left that campus. They say, yo, it's tight knit. They run their ship, and it's not a whole lot coming in. You know what I mean? In terms of outside influence of how they run their stuff. So I can understand why someone who's constantly in that environment would be too close to understand some of the stuff that we talk about on the outside of that environment as it pertains to what should matter versus what it is that they may be saying, yo, this is what we want you to do, and this is how you keep your job with us. So I understand there's a lot of stuff may be outside of his control, but as someone else said, I'll say the same thing. What is the point of being the face of sports media and making all this money if you don't have the right to simply voice your opinion freely and apologize as you see fit for something that you may do? If they got a battery in my back and a hand in my back, what's good is the money? What good is the voice to the millions and millions of people if I'm not talking to them about stuff that's coming out of me? If I'm pushing somebody else's agenda, following somebody else's protocol, making sure that I address somebody else's concerns and not mine, what good is the money? And what good is the voice if it ain't your own? You just want to reach people with your personality? That's surface stuff, bro. You're not even able to give what's in you. So you don't have any freedom. Essentially, you're a rich slave, Stephen A. Your people, and when I say your people, I am not referring to African Americans, because I understand that not every black person sees African Americans and the overall sentiment of an African American community as something that they should be catering to, following, or even agreeing with a lot of times. And that is not something that I'm here to argue. That's not my point of view. I'm saying you're a dude with brown skin. Whether you're from the Caribbean, whether you're from Oklahoma in there, whether you're from another place of the world, whether your roots are right here, you're a person with black and brown skin, bro. Because I know we like to, separate ourselves. Some cultures don't really want to be considered black. They don't want to be associated with the slave trade. So I'm going to remove all of that. And I'm just going to say you're a person with black skin. We deal with a lot. We get a lot thrown at us when we try to step up and say, yo, we deserve respect. We deserve to be acknowledged when we've been offended. We deserve the type of respect that you may hand someone else. You got people all over the world dealing with the type of racism, the type of disrespect that comes from that. And as somebody who's in a position with a voice, who talks to people of all different races and creeds and colors and addresses the nation every single day, you're trying to tell me that people of dark skin are not worthy of your respect and apology when they feel offended by you? But people of other skin, of hues from which you do not share, deserve that same type, the type of respect that we are not receiving when they're offended? When I look in the mirror, forget that. I'm looking at this phone and I'm saying that. I'm seeing myself say that. And you know what comes to mind? I can't. I can't for $15 million do that. I can't for 1 million followers and 1 million likes and 1 million people commenting on this positively. I can't do that. Because that betrays the very nature of what it is that I can stand here before you and be. Somebody worth listening to, someone worth standing before you, someone worth apologizing to if he's wronged, somebody worth listening to when he's wronged you, an apology. I essentially say that I'm worth nothing if I look at somebody that looks just like me and is not willing to give them the same respect that I give to someone else that doesn't. I betray myself. Not the person to the left of me, not the person to the right of me, and not even my family and friends and ancestors. That they come second. We're talking about just the person on the other side of this screen, the eyes that's looking back at you. That's who I betray when I do that, Stephen A. That's who you betray when you behave that way, Stephen A. The Nigerians, they didn't deserve an afterthought because you mistaken the word precious and you may have understood that they kind of got offended too. So you want to apologize for that. That's flippant, that's dismissive, and it shows that they were not a priority despite being equally offended, possibly. Because mind you, you didn't hear from each and every Japanese and Asian person to hear if they really gave a damn about what you said. No, you listened to the sentiment of those who told you to apologize. Their PR people told you that it's a bad time to be offending Asians, and you got up there and you said what you had to say to make that right with them. But that shows the disingenuous nature of your actual self because you didn't give a damn about anybody else that you offended to that same degree. The rest of them were afterthoughts. Why? Because they didn't affect the bottom dollar of the people that you work for. And that, my friend, is a betrayal of your very own self. It's a betrayal, Stephen A. For the same reasons I already said. No sense in talking in circles. You just heard it. It's a betrayal. And you can say, well, I help the black community on the back end. I'm able to get millions and millions of dollars and funnel it to schools. I'm able to do whatever it is that you do, not to belittle it in any way. But that does not negate how you make people feel. Especially people who are not aware of whatever it is that you're doing for the black community, for people of color or what have you. We are not aware. What we are aware of is you offended the Asian community, and you've repeatedly offended the black community. Repeatedly. To the point where when Kwame acknowledged that he was a black man being offended by what it is that you had said over the years about him, I had to step back and say, can Kwame do that? I, in my own ignorance, had to step back and say, can Kwame do that? Because by default, most athletes are black, and by default, everybody they consider attacking is black. So in my mind, I'm like, well, all the athletes are black, Kwame, and they attack all of them. So I don't know if we deserve necessarily to be acknowledged, or you deserve to be acknowledged in that way, because, and then I had to stop and say, wait a minute, no, Kwame's black, idiot. What are you talking about? I had to say that to myself. That's how desensitized we are to being disrespected. A black man says that he felt disrespected and is a black man in doing so, and he felt like the black community was disrespected because of how he was treated, and as a black man, I had to question whether or not he had the right to say that. That's how messed up this environment has been in terms of my mentality. I am affected negatively by this type of ecosystem, and that's why I'm speaking out on this. Because it's those types of seeds that have been planted in my head as a black person for years and years and years to make me think that, well, because I'm the majority in this field, I don't deserve to be acknowledged as important. It's actions like this, Stephen A., that would put that thought in a young black person's head, that would grow to make them become a grown man and start questioning, like, wait a minute, can Kwame call the black card? Yes, he can call the black card. He's a black person. And yes, he was repeatedly insulted, and I laughed at it every day. I ain't no better for it. Because I sat up there and listened to that bullshit and laughed. I'm not sitting here saying I'm taking accountability for myself. I hope to learn from Stephen A. Smith. So if I ever find myself working for a company of some sort that has these type of things going on, I can make sure I get the hell out of there before it ever gets to this point. Stephen A., I don't want to be in your position, bro. I'd rather not do that. If my people are going to walk around having this on their heart, what I have on my heart, in this camera about me, I wouldn't want that. You can keep that. African Americans deserve every bit of an apology from you, Stephen A., as anybody else you've offended, with the same amount of intensity and the same amount of thought applied. We are not an afterthought. We are not a demographic that needs to be set aside because we've been given all this attention for the last year and a half. I understand that people are tired of Black Lives Matter. They don't really want to hear about us right now. I get that. You've oversaturated the movement with bullcrap. Not you, Stephen A., obviously, but I'm just talking about in general, by pandering to it so much. Real. Cut and dry. People don't want to hear from us right now. I get it. It's about the Asians right now. And I respect it, because every movement has its time. But do not tell me that we don't deserve an apology when you offend us. Do not tell me that. Do not tell me that the Nigerian people who you offended are an afterthought in your mind when you black. That is hurtful. Forget being mad at you. That's hurtful. And you need to know that. And you don't need to be moving around side to the side, none of that, off of that. You need to see front and center. And anybody that thinks like you need to see front and center how hurtful that is. We deserve every bit of intensity as anybody else, just like they deserve as much as we do. Fact. I'm not here to tell you that we deserve more. I'm here to tell you we deserve the same. Otani deserved that apology, and he has the right to accept it or ignore it as he sees fit. So does the entire community that you offended. We deserve to be able to have that right too. But we were never issued that apology. So we're standing in limbo still waiting for it. 1,000,000 times over, if I may say so myself. An exaggeration, obviously. But Stephen A., you said so many things over the years that have offended your own people. So many damn things, bro. Little things, big things, stuff that makes us feel bad, stuff that makes us think that we're the reason things aren't going well in certain instances where we are not, where a lot of that stuff is systematic. Make people feel like they need to have an education in order to be worthy of being respected in your eyes. See, that's another thing that I don't like. It's another thing that I don't like because it's not easy to get an education for everybody. We can put all of our focus on black colleges and all of that, but unless y'all making them colleges free, not everybody else can get there. Not everybody who's smart enough to be there is able to get there. That's personal to me. Sorry. But it's true. We put a little bit too much emphasis on intellect and not enough emphasis on just being decent toward everybody. Not everybody's smart, fam. Not everybody is going to be able to put things together and be able to be a working contributor to society. Not everybody's going to have the requisite amount of respect for themselves or others and all of that stuff. We can't look at everybody and say they meet my criteria, so they deserve the respect that someone else doesn't as it pertains to me being wrong and apologizing to them. If you view me as a slob of glue with no thought in my mind whatsoever, you still have to respect yourself enough to when you wrong me, you make it right. You don't get to look at me and say, he ain't as smart. He ain't as rich. So he don't deserve as much of an apology. Because that's exactly what's happening here. I ain't stupid. I know exactly what's happening here. That's what's happening. You're putting value on people based on imaginary criteria. That may not be you, Stephen A. It's the people above you. But that's why you need not work for them. Represent them with your mouth as an African American because it makes you look bad. And when you go in the ground, this is what we gonna remember. This. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate, but that's your doing. Because you looked at us to tell us we ain't matter in more or less words. And as a person who eloquates words and gives us words as well as anyone else, I'm sure you understand when I say that's some bullcrap, sir. That's some bullcrap. And you wronged us not only by not apologizing, but you wronged us with the things that you may have done that deserve apology. So step up to the plate. Talk to your people like you're a black man, like I'm talking to you. And you let us know why the hell you haven't given us that apology. You don't sway from that. I want to know personally. Brandon Fulmer wants to know personally why Stephen A. Smith doesn't think black people deserve the type of apology that others do. I want to know. As somebody who's been following you since he was 13 years old, I want to know why that is. I don't know who else is addressing him this way. I wish you were in front of me so I could say this. I'm not mad at you. I don't want to punch you. I don't want anybody else to do nothing to you. I'd stop them if they tried. But you need to understand this. I have no respect for this action. And I'm losing respect for the man every time something like this comes about that brings this type of thought in my head. And as someone who looks up to you, as someone who has family members who look like you, it's hurtful. Stephen A. Smith. My name is Brandon Damone Lonnie Jesse Deloney Fulmer, if you want to know my whole name. BDF 44. I am out.